time in 4 years. We're going to practice some more chants right now, so pull out your chant sheet. I want to take a look at number 3. Did you notice all of these funny numbers on this one? What do they mean? Anybody know? They're the bill numbers. Yes. Okay, so we're going to practice. So it's going to sound like this. 2114, rent hikes no more. 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 Awesome. All right. You guys sound great. Let's do the next one. 5, 9, 6, 1. We won't stop until we won. 5, 9, 6, 1. We won't stop until we won. 5, 9, 6, 1. We won't stop until we won. 5, 9, 6, 1. We won't stop until we won. Okay, I want to try a couple more that I just like. So let's do this one. Can we give it up for Mom Caroline, who wrote some really awesome tunes for us? These are great. Good job. Okay, let's do this one. Rent hikes, let's stop it. Put people over profit. Rent hikes, let's stop it. Put people over profit. Rent hikes, let's stop it. Put people over profit. Rent hikes, let's stop it. Put people over profit. You guys, this is so great. You're really good at chanting. We're going to have a powerful rally later. All right, and then let's do the last one. I think this one is my favorite, my personal favorite. This is number 8. So let's try. The people are unstoppable, another world is possible. The people are unstoppable, the people are unstoppable, another world is possible. You all are great. Thank you so much. Thanks for being here. Keep up that energy. It's Michelle. This is Michelle Thomas. Many of you know her, our Director of Policy and Advocacy at the Housing Alliance.
All right. Hello, everybody. Okay, I have a long-held habit of talking too long, so I'm just asking Mom Caroline to make sure she tells me when I need to stop talking. So, well, I really wish you could see how beautiful you are from this perspective. Up there, oh my God, hello. This is the opportunity to have your voice heard. Our bills are literally the top of the list right now. They are well known to be the big hot button issue, and they're hard bills. Because we are changing the foundational, fundamental balance of power with these bills. And if they were easy, if we weren't doing that, we wouldn't have opposition. If we weren't trying to fundamentally change the status quo, we wouldn't have opposition. We have opposition because we are going after a long-held injustice. So you being here today is going to make all the difference in the world. The reason I'm holding this is because I want to make sure before you leave, if you have not yet made a sign, that you take a second and make one. And yeah, hold yours up and look around, folks. So I see Tacoma for rent caps, retirees for rent caps, we're here for rent caps, DESC for rent caps, ISAC for rent caps, rescue cats for rent caps, Spokane, keep our rents reasonable. District 19 for rent caps. It's could and stop rent increases. Beacon Hill for rent caps. Designers for rent caps. Fort Plain forward for rent caps. Millennial for rent caps. Housing is a human right. District 37 for rent caps. Protect us. Senate Bill 5961. District 49, and then I see a lot of other beautiful signs. Fully fund homeless services, absolutely. Rent stabilization, yes. Everyone needs a home. Beautiful. Yeah. One thing to know, make sure you take a sign with you up on the campus. When you enter the legislative buildings, the security guards may ask for you to give them your signs. Just ask them to make sure they hold them and that you get them back when you leave the building. And then when you go into the legislative building for legislative meetings, they also typically won't let you bring your signs in, but they can hold the signs for you, and then you can just get them back, okay? But these signs are for the rally. So the rally is going to be a really, really important part of our day today, because it's an opportunity for the many press that we have here today to see how strong we are. 700 people registered today, and having 700 people on the Capitol steps, we are literally going to be one of the biggest days, if not the biggest, advocacy day on campus. So thank you. I know many of you had to get up really, really early to get here today, and I know many of you had to come even last night and stay over. We know that you took a time off of work. So thank you for everything you did to get here. Your stories matter. Your stories cannot, the studies that the landlords are putting out there to try to say that rent stabilization will be bad for Washington, can't hold a candle to your stories. By the way, one of the things they say, guess what they say, why rent stabilization is bad for Washington? Lie. Well, they lie. They do lie. We don't lie. It's a tactic that our opposition often uses, but they say that the reason rent stabilization, one of the top reasons why it's bad for Washington, is because it increases stability for renters. Oh yeah, they have that in writing. They have that in writing. Yeah. So, just a couple quick tips on having your meetings with lawmakers, and then I'm going to go through our priorities in detail and answer any questions, and I'll be available afterwards too. If you have a specific question that we don't answer today, I'll be out in the lobby to answer more questions later. So a couple of just really important things. Where's Monica? Monica, where are you? Monica, okay. Monica has been testifying. Monica is from the 49th Legislative District. Beautiful human. Been testifying about her family. And one of the with is, I'm a human being, not a dollar sign. I, after she testified, walked through the halls, just going out to my meetings, and I had several lawmakers, as I was passing them, repeat that back to me. And the chair of the House Housing Committee, Representative Strom Peterson, that some of you are going to be meeting with today, he sent out his email to constituents, and he quoted Monica in his email. My point is that your stories stick. They matter. When you succinctly just tell your truth and tell the reality that you're living in now, that's going to stick more than any pretend, made up, fake, false lie that the landlords are going to say to oppose us. So your stories matter, and I've seen it time and time again. This is my, I think, 14th or 15th legislative session with the Housing Alliance. And so, yeah, it's a long time. So what we know is that stories really move lawmakers. They're human beings. Stories are what they're going to remember when it comes down to casting that vote. It's not just stories, it's accountability. It's accountability to the people you have elected to represent you and to make sure that as you, as their constituent, that they are addressing the urgent needs that are having such a huge impact on your life. So it's not just moving them and educating them, it's accountability. So we're going to give you a couple more tips after this, after my part of the program. You are going to be meeting with your legislative district leads. If you haven't yet, as a legislative district, organized who's going to take the lead, make sure you do that, because it's helpful to have somebody who just moves the meeting along. If you have a huge group, you're not going to have time to do introductions of every single one of you, otherwise your entire meeting may just be introductions, and you won't get to the tasks. But make sure, the thing with the lawmakers is, one, don't let them sidetrack the meeting on some other little bill that they're doing that they think you might like. It's not on our lead agenda. Don't let them sidetrack you today. Stick to the lead agenda because they may be trying to not get into the weeds on these bills, which again, are harder. They're fundamental change, right? They're foundational change. So don't let them distract you, be polite, and just be ready to pivot back to the lead priorities that you are here to talk to them about. And make the direct ask of them. You know, don't just say like, I hope you'll vote for this. Say, are you going to vote for this? Will you vote for this? Will you stand up and commit to your constituents, me, today, that you are going to support this? It's okay if they say no. That's better than no. That is way better than no. If they say, I'm not there yet, or I don't know, maybe, then what do you need in order to get to yes? And hear them, listen to them, ideally jotting down the most important things you're hearing this lawmaker say, and then make sure you come back and share that with Housing Alliance staff so we know what your lawmaker said and can follow up with them or help you follow up with them. The great thing about being here today in person is this is an opportunity to develop a relationship with your lawmaker, all of your lawmakers. And so that's the thing to think about, right? You may not like your lawmaker staff right now, you may not like what you hear today, but think about the long term, right? Think about how am I going to develop a relationship with this person to try to keep moving them towards yes? Because this isn't the only bill we're going to be working on, right? So once we pass this, there's a lot more bills that we need to do, and those ones are going to be heard too. And so developing a relationship with them is critical. And part of that will be following up. After your meeting with them today, you can follow up. So, you know, if they're on the ask them what they need. If they ask you a question and, you know, you don't have time to answer, or if it's like they're trying to divert and not, you know, get to where they're at on the bill, or if they literally just legitimately ask you a question that you don't have the answer to, that's great, because that gives you a hook, that gives you the opportunity to follow up with the lawmaker and to continue to develop that relationship. If you have a good meeting too, it's also a good idea afterwards to send them a personalized thank you note through email and just say thank you so much. It was really nice meeting you, and you know, whatever. You asked this question, now I have the answer, or you know, you asked this question, I was thinking about it some more, I wanted to add some more, give you more thoughts about it, whatever, you know. It's just this opportunity, right, to cultivate a relationship that you can use, because I'll tell you, relationships in politics is everything. Sometimes lawmakers vote on a bill and they'll say, you know, Michelle, I don't really love this bill, but I'm going to vote yes on it for you today. And you know, and at the end, like, we want people to get to yes because they believe in the bill, but regardless of how they get there or why they're voting yes, a yes is a yes. Right? So think about it like that, and the point is like, so if you're trying to develop a relationship with somebody, obviously it's going to be critical to be polite, to be clear, and to be strong. Stand your ground. You can stand your ground by being polite, right? Right? You can stand your ground while being polite. You can be direct while being polite. You can be kind. I just want to say again, please check in with us afterwards. And if you don't have time to, like, actually physically see us, you can email us afterwards and tell us what you learned from your lawmaker meetings, because that's absolutely key. Having us know what happens so we can follow up. Yeah. Huh? Okay, thank you. Okay, so let's go ahead and go through some of the, so on the screen, as it's been here, and it's in your packet too, these are our priorities, right? And we're all these buildings by her amazing chants. In the House Democratic Caucus, the Speaker of the House is their top priority this year. And how did they get there? They didn't just like wake up and like, oh, that's a good idea. They got there because of you. They got there because of advocacy. They got there because of the stories that you all have been sharing with your lawmakers about the excessive and unfair rent increases that you're getting and how it's impacting you and your community. So pat yourself on the back, because having the Speaker of the House say that our bill is their top priority is huge. It's absolutely huge. Doesn't mean we don't have obstacles, though. The Senate, there's a lot of senators who say this is also their top priority, but we do have folks in the Senate who are trying to block the bill. And we need both chambers. You can't pass a bill out of one chamber. You need so we do need support from both chambers. So there still is more work to do. That said, they are really well known. The rent stabilization bills are the hot topic. So people will not be surprised to see you. They won't be surprised when you go to the meetings and talk about this, but it really is going to be critical to elevate them. Tomorrow too, by the way, you're here at a really, really, really strategic time because tomorrow is the first cutoff or deadline of the legislative session. How many of you know what a cutoff is? Couple? Okay, so what a cutoff is the legislature, this is a short 60-day session, and so what they do is they make deadlines that a bill has to get through in order to continue to advance, and they just call it a cutoff, but if you can think of it as a deadline, it's the same thing. So tomorrow is the first cutoff, and the cutoff is that the first step that a bill has to get through in order to continue to proceed is it has to get through its policy committee that it was introduced in. Bill 2114, it's already advanced through its policy committee, so it's already met this deadline, it's fine. And it was heard in this House Appropriations Committee, that's the next deadline. So it has a fiscal impact to the state because the Attorney General's office is going to enforce this, which is good, we want enforcement. But that means it has to go through another step. It has to go through a fiscal committee. In the House, that's the Appropriations Committee. We had a really good hearing last Wednesday night. And now the next step for 2114 is that it has to be scheduled for a vote in the Appropriations Committee. Once that happens, and I've been told that it will, it has to get voted out. So we do need a majority of the lawmakers on any committee, including on appropriations, to get the bill out. And then the next step is a committee called the Rules Committee. And then it needs to be pulled out of the Rules Committee to the floor. And then it needs a vote on the floor of the House, and then it goes over to the Senate to start the whole process all over again, right? People oftentimes joke that the legislative process is made to kill bills, not to pass them. And it's because there's so many steps. So it's really good you're here today because the Senate version, 5961 by Senator Trudeau, has not yet advanced through its policy committee. Technically, we only need one bill. Sometimes lawmakers call them vehicles. We need one vehicle to win. But if the Senate committee, the Senate Housing Committee, does not pass Senate Bill 5961 through that committee by tomorrow, then it makes our job a lot harder. It does not mean no. It doesn't mean we've lost. But it makes it harder because the House will say, I don't know if you have a path. If we send the House bill over, will they just kill it again? So we have to pressure the House to stand strong and send the bill over. We also have to pressure the members of the Senate Housing Committee to get the bill passed. And those of you from the 49th District know you have a special job today for that one in particular. So this is the bill as introduced, and I won't go through every bullet, but this is the bill as introduced. I do want to say that in the Senate Housing Committee, in order to get Senator Shoemake's vote from the 42nd LD, we did have to accept a pretty brutal amendment, but you all knew this, that in order to keep a bill moving through the Senate, we were likely to face some pretty brutal amendments, and amendments that have been made to the bill that are not how we want to see the bill at final passage, right? But you cannot amend a dead bill. You can amend a bill that's still moving through the process. Keep in mind, right? The key is keeping bills moving because you can always have the opportunity every step of the way to improve it as it continues its journey. But if it's dead, if it dies in committee and doesn't make it through that cutoff or that deadline, you don't have that opportunity. So again, just like I just said, Senate Bill 5961 was heard. The key here is that it was brought up for a vote on Friday, but there are currently insufficient signatures to advance the bill. And that's because we need all senators on the committee to say whether they're yes or no. Right now, one of the Democratic senators who was present at the hearing did not, what's called sign the board. It's literally a piece of paper on a board. And that's better than signing no, though, right? So that means we still have the opportunity for that senator from the 49th legislative district to sign yes. And that's the big goal of the next couple of days, is to convince that senator to keep the bill moving. A lot of times, it is very common for a lawmaker to sign yes on a bill to get it out of committee and to make a statement like, hey, you know what? I don't think this bill is where I want it to be for a vote on the floor, and I may not vote yes unless there's more amendments along the way, but I'm gonna vote yes today to keep the bill moving. Like, that's a very common thing that happens, and that's like something that Senator Cleveland from the 49th could do to keep the bill moving. And like I said, the House version is moving a lot quicker. So these are the Senate Housing Committee members. So if any of you, because this bill is in such limbo right now, have a lawmaker that you're meeting with who's on the Senate Housing Committee, if you're meeting with any of these people today, your meetings are going to be particularly important for this bill. So please just like look through that. If you're in the 48th, 36th, 31st, 20th, 49th, 25th, 18th, 37th, 42nd, 27th, and 19th, your meetings are particularly important. Unfortunately, on this bill, I think it's extremely unlikely that any Republican's going to vote yes on it at this point in time. So it's mostly if you're meeting with any of the Democrats, and they would have a D after their name to designate their party. Okay? So just to be really clear, what we're trying to do is cap rent increases at 5%. And the Housing Alliance has spent a lot of time with renters over the summer and fall and early winter before session started to ask people, what is the largest rent increase that you could handle without it causing you to lose your home? And where we landed was 5%. Oregon has a 10% cap, so we were worried that lawmakers would try to raise this 5% cap to 10. Unfortunately, the amendment in the Senate Housing Committee actually raised it to 15%. So exactly, right? Okay, so this is what 5% looks like. And remember, our goal is housing stability. So it's not just thinking about what that first rent increase is. You need to think about and show lawmakers, and you need to put it in actual dollars, what that rent increase means in the second year and the third year and on, right? So this chart shows you look at the difference. By the third year in Vancouver, if you rented this house at $1,495, by the third rent increase, you're paying $235.86 more per month than you were when you moved in. And landlords are saying that this 5% cap is not reasonable. Look how much that is over 3 years. It's more than reasonable. It is more than reasonable. They can pay for their repairs. They can still make a profit with the 5% cap. Yeah, good point. It's more than a car payment. Here's what a 15% cap would do. That same rental in Vancouver, starting out at $1,495, by the third rent increase, you're paying $778.71 more per month in rent. That is not reasonable. That is not sustainable. Can anybody here afford that? No. It can't. Exactly. And we have a lot of allies who are from the Anti-Hunger and Nutrition Coalition who are having their lobby day soon. And this is a top priority for them because they said the number one reason that people are increasing in need for food supports and are increasingly going to the food bank is because their rents are going up and they can't. Rent eats first, right? You've heard that phrase. Rent eats first, and then it doesn't leave enough money to pay literally for your food. This is not acceptable. But when you meet with lawmakers, you really need to put this in dollar terms. The legislation has to have it by percentages, but Lawmakers can't understand percentages, so you need to calculate out for them what a 15% rent increase would be. Well, they don't understand. You really do need to put it in the dollar terms. Okay, so we're gonna keep moving. Did somebody say that a question? Okay, I thought I heard somebody say. Okay, so the Affordable Homes Act. This is another really exciting opportunity and an exciting bill. In here, work for a nonprofit landlord. All right, fair amount of you. So, as you all know, and I think our esteemed board member mentioned, we were able to secure a record $400 million for the Housing Trust Fund in the capital budget, right? That's a big deal. But it's all gone already. It's already all been appropriated, every single dime of it, because there's so much need across the state, and our nonprofit housing providers, our landlords, our nonprofit developers need more money to build more housing. $400 million in the capital budget is a record for our advocacy, and a lot of that is because we have built so much, we have elected lawmakers and have built up the Housing Trust Fund so much that we're able to dramatically increase the appropriations, but the capital budget, the state budget, will never be enough to alone provide the funding for the housing that we need in our communities. So we need a supplementary income source. So I just want to be really clear that what this bill does is it would make a permanent fund source for the Housing Trust Fund. It's not to replace the capital budget. We need both. We need both, okay? And so what this does is it creates a new permanent fund source. And by the way, the Housing Trust Fund, how many of you have heard of the Housing Trust Fund? Okay, but most of you have heard of it now, and it looks like most of you have heard about it. That's great. So it's the way that the state invests in affordable housing. And almost all affordable housing in Washington state, especially if it's housing for the lowest income folks, people experiencing homelessness, who need a home but who may not have any funds to pay their rent, you need the Housing Trust Fund in that project in order for it to be built. So it's kind of the linchpin, especially for the housing for our lowest income neighbors. And it's the way that the state invests dollars to build affordable housing. So what this bill will do, and we're calling it the Affordable Homes Act, it's House Bill 2276 and Senate Bill 6191, what it will do is create a permanent fund source. And you can kind of hear it in the name, Housing Trust Fund. You might think that it had a dedicated fund source because it's called a trust fund. It was the dream, it was the vision, it was the goal. It was never achieved, but we finally have that opportunity with these bills now, right? It's exciting. You can clap. It also will fund housing for people with disabilities. So Apple Health and Homes, permanent supportive housing. It's literally this, right? Yeah, cheer for that, man. And that is literally the solution to unsheltered homelessness. And for those of you in the crowd today, I know there's a big DESC group here in particular. Love you. Thank you for your work. And it's also, and this is really exciting, it's going to create a new program for housing for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. This is a huge, clap for that, seriously, this is a huge need in our state. We do not have nearly enough housing for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, and it's a growing problem, and heartbreaking stories of parents who are taking care of their children who are aging, and the parents are saying, what's going to happen when I die? There's no place for my kid to go. And we don't want to go for them to be forced to go to an institution. Like, that's not a good setting for folks. So we need affordable housing for them, and this bill creates a new program for housing for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. It also, for those of you who are here who work for nonprofit landlords, it also has a new pot of money, a dedicated fund source for the operations of your programs. And that's a big deal, because that is directly how we can support you as workers, right? And we know there's a frontline worker crisis. And part of it is that there's not enough funding for even the daily operations. And that includes having enough workers at the doors and to support you in the buildings It includes the basic pay raises and supports that you should be receiving in order to feel safe and in your job and knowing that you can do it for a long term. So this bill is very important. Interestingly, it has literally the exact same opposition as the rent stabilization bills. So it's the Washington State Realtors Association, it's the opposition, it's the big landlords, it's the small landlords, and it's the big developers. That's okay. We have won against these people time and time again, and we will again. Even though, but you know what they don't have? They do not have people power. They actually have a lobby meeting today. You want to know how many people they have? 125. We have 700. We actually have more because a lot of you came in and weren't on our list. So we really have more like 730 or 750. So we dwarf them everywhere we go. We dwarf them and we win because we have people power and we don't try to buy lawmakers with money. Okay, so this is what the bill does. It's a new 1% real estate transfer tax on properties that sell for over $3.025 million. Believe me, people selling those properties can afford to pay 1% more to create a permanent fund source for affordable housing. They can. They can. They're saying they can't. It's a lie. They can and they should. We have an extremely inequitable tax system in our state. And you want to know what else? You know what landlords don't pay? They do not pay B&O taxes on their rental income. That's a tax that every other business owner in Washington pays, and they have a special exemption. There is a bill right now to force them to pay it, but it's unlikely to pass right now, but still a good bill, so hopefully we do hope it continues to advance. But they get a lot of government subsidy directly in preferential tax treatment, both by Washington State and by the federal government. They can afford to pay 1% more so that everybody can have the opportunity to live in a safe, affordable home. Oh goodness, okay, 5 minutes. Just one really important thing about this bill, it also is going to reduce taxes for a lot of people who are property owners who are selling property. So anybody who owns a single family home, for example, if you sell your home and it sells for more than $525,000, you are going to actually get a tax break by this bill. So it's going to lower taxes or not touch taxes at the time of sale of a piece of property for the vast majority of property owners who are selling property in Washington State. That's what this map is. You can see these really high percentages. King County, 96.7% of the properties sold are going to be either not touched or get a tax break. And then look at that, Ferry and Stevens County, Pend Oreille, 100%. Whatcom County, 99.3% of the properties sold are not touched or get a tax break. Wahkiakum, 100%. So you can see this is good for the vast majority of property owners in Washington State. Okay, and so this is just getting into the weeds on the current law. We don't necessarily need to go into this right now. Okay, this is a really important one. I'm only have 5 minutes, so I don't want to skip out on this one. So we have a potential crisis on our hands because the dedicated fund source for homeless services is facing a really significant gap. And if the legislature fails to address that gap by appropriating enough funds to close it, we may see shelters closing across the state. Right. And this is on top of there not being enough services already, right? I think nobody in this room would say that we have enough shelter or that we have enough frontline services for folks at risk of homelessness or currently experiencing homelessness. We do not have enough. We cannot afford to go backwards, right? So this is really critical to raise the alarm with lawmakers today because we have a lot of solidarity on all of our issues, but we alone, with the Washington Community Action Program, are really the ones holding the voice on this. So please, in your lawmaker meetings, make sure, in addition to talking about the bills, that you also say, listen, we really need you to understand that there's a really significant gap in funding for homeless services, and we really need the state budget to fill it and to fully fill it. So the amount we need is $69.8 million. Some lawmakers who are not on the budget committees might be briefly confused, and so that's why I have this first bullet up here. We did secure $67 million last year for this, and at the time, the budget writers, in good faith, thought they were filling the gap entirely, and that it should have been good for 2 years, for the 2-year budget. Unfortunately, the real estate economy, which is where we get our permanent fund source through the document recording fees, it's primarily through real estate transactions, has not improved. And so it means that there's still an ongoing gap, and that wasn't not anticipated. So our lawmakers intended to fill it, it just didn't, the numbers were wrong. So we need, in addition to the $67 million that was appropriated last year, another $69.8 million. So this is going to particularly impact homeless shelters, emergency shelters, both day shelters and overnight shelters, and transitional housing and rapid rehousing. So it's really, really important to raise this up in your meetings, especially if your lawmaker is on either the Appropriations Committee or the Ways and Means Committee. You can look up who your lawmakers are and what committees they're on by just going to the state legislature's website and looking up their name. Either click on House or click on Senate, and then scroll down, find their name, click on their name, and you'll see all of the committees that your lawmaker is on. If you have any questions about that, though, we can try to help address them. All right, so lastly is the progressive revenue bills. And there's more information in your packets about this. We don't need to get into detail. I did want to point out there's 4 bills addressing this, and they're all intertwined. So it can be a little confusing because there's 4 bills, but all the bills are important. One set of bills addresses just consumer protections around gift cards, and the other one addresses the budget impact, where it says that corporations should not be able to keep your dollars for not providing a service, and instead it should sit in the state's budget, not in the corporation's budget. And the state can give it back to you if you claim it as unclaimed property, but in the meantime, it's going to sit in the state budget and it's going to provide these services that we all desperately need. All right, so I am done going through the details, so I'm going to pass it on. But again, if you have more questions, your packet's going to be full of information, and I'll be in the lobby as you're heading to your lawmaker meetings to answer questions. I just want to emphasize, though, please do not miss the rally. That's going to be fun, but it's also going to be critical to have you all with us so that we have an extremely strong presence. We're going to have the New York Times there. Didn't say that. That's right. New York Times, Seattle Times, the Columbian, Como News. So, we want them to see. We want them to see you. We want them to see you. So please make sure you come to the rally. It's going to be really fun. It's not supposed to be raining. It's abnormally warm for this time of year, so perfect conditions. Bring your signs, and then get ready to chant really loud. And also, when you, I want to make sure you give our lawmaker speakers some love. They're the leads on these bills, and they're working really, really hard. And so this is an opportunity to thank them through your chants and your cheers, and by listening to what they have to say. Okay? Thank you so much, Michelle. We feeling more prepared for these meetings? All right, awesome. I heard that our friends at Chief Seattle Club just got here. Let's welcome them. Okay, I'm just hopping back up here to do a couple of quick announcements. So listen up, especially if you are here from Legislative District 2, or if you are here from Legislative District 32, we unfortunately got a couple of last-minute cancellations from your lawmakers. So Representative Wilcox in District 2 is ill and will not be able to meet with folks today. And we also got a cancellation from Senator Solomon in the 32nd District. So if you're in either of those districts and you have a pen handy, pull out your legislative district meeting schedule and maybe cross those ones off so you don't forget. Okay, and Michelle is saying that she recommends you still go to their office at that time to leave a note with the lawmaker. It's possible that a staff member may still be able to meet with you.
or you can leave a note. Okay, and then I have a question, and it's probably only going to apply to one or two of you, so don't be afraid to speak up and wave your arms and yell. Is anyone here from Legislative District 15 or Legislative District 16? If you are, give me a big shout right now. 15 or 16, anybody here? Okay, just double checking, thank you. And then I was also asked to help clarify the building acronyms on the meeting schedule. So like if you're looking at that and you're like, what is JLab? What is JAC? I'm gonna decode that for you right now. So JAC, if you have a meeting in the JAC building, that stands for John A. Sherberg. And on your map, it says Sherberg and it's circled and it says Senate. That's the JAC building. The J-Law building is the John L. O'Brien building right next to it. That one's also circled on your map and it says House. Okay? The LEG building, that's short for the Legislative building, that one is not circled, but it's kind of in the middle between the House and Senate buildings and the steps where our rally will be. Does anyone have any other questions about the acronyms? Oh, the modular building, that one is also circled on your map. It's right next to the Temple of Justice. It's a little one. Any other questions? Yeah.
One thing I wanted to say, so first of all, for those modular buildings, it's a little bit of a trek. So give yourself at least 10 extra minutes to get to them. And also, there is now security at all the entrances to the lawmaker offices. And it can take, especially in the House, extra time to get in. So try to get to your meeting at least 5 minutes early. Be in the hallway, on the floor you're supposed to be in, because it will take you some time to actually get into the lawmaker's office.
Michelle? All right, and then my last question is if Joanna H. got their phone back. Did Joanna get their phone? Okay, awesome, good, thanks. Okay, that's all I have. Next, we are going to bring up Poe to help us get ready for the next really important part of the day. Oh, somebody else is next, okay.
All right, so we are back, but what I forgot when I said good morning, I forgot to also welcome and greet my brothers and sisters, so assalamu alaikum. So we're going to have Talana do a chant. So this is where our choir, if y'all remember who you are, that we try to practice on Friday. Okay, we're not doing that one? Okay, so you're going to do chant 7. And then after Talana is Rachel. Oh, okay, then Paul.
Where my LD22 folks at? Ready to do some chants? So I'm Tawana Reed, and I work for the Tenants Union of Washington State. And I live here in Olympia. Lots of folks here. So the first chant we're going to go through is, hey, ho, ho, these red lights have got to go. That's number 7. LD22 folks, you know your cue. Let's get ready to do it and get the example. Hey, ho, ho. Hey, ho, ho. Louder. Hey, ho, ho. Hey, ho, ho. Just pretend you're at a Tupac concert or something. Yeah, that one. That's the good one. Okay, the next one we're going to do is number 9. And when tenant rights are under attack, what do? That's right. So when tenant rights are under attack, what do? When tenant rights are under attack, what do? Stand up. Stand up. What are you talking about? Good job, guys. And yes, we will be singing at the Capitol building too.
Yeah, if you're feeling good right now, somebody say housing! Housing! Love it. All right, I'm going to share some details around our lawmaker meetings with our legislative district groups. Shout out to all our leads. Where are our HAD leads at? Make some noise. All right, one of my favorite parts about HAD are the lawmaker meetings. Is one of the most important parts of today. So we want to make sure you're ready. In about a minute or two, we're going to break up and go into these different areas where you identify your legislative district and then gravitate to that space. The one detail I wanted to add with the black box is getting to the black box takes going through that door and then finally going through the Liberty Lounge entrance, and that'll guide you right over to the black box. We'll have staff everywhere to guide and help you, support you. When we break up into those meetings, what we hope will happen is you'll get your game plan down for your lawmaker meeting. Get the talking points down, get the roles, identify who's going to speak on what. Try to spread it across all the priorities on our lead agenda. Share your impacting stories, be real. Come as your authentic self, come as you are. Don't worry about political jargon and all that. Just come as you are, and I think that will resonate on a whole nother level with these lawmakers. We wish you the best, so in a minute, we're all gonna get up. We're gonna go to these sections right here, gravitate toward the group. Our LD leads will have our HAD LD leads will have a yellow folder. All of our HAD leads will have a yellow folder. All of our groups will have a red folder. And so if you have any questions regarding that, and those who, if you don't have a lawmaker meeting set today, I just want to highlight that there are blank pieces of paper in your packets and in your material. Leave a note. Let them know you made the trip all the way out here. And I think when they see those efforts that have been taking place, I think that will also be helpful. Y'all ready to get this going? All right. So without further ado, I did have a chant, but we're gonna save the chant for later. Let's go ahead and get into our groups. Go ahead and make your way to these areas here. Identify where your district's at and make your way to that specific area. Thank you all so much. After you find your group, feel free to meet anywhere. Transition to the Capitol anytime.
All right, thank you for watching.
I'll come out and give you
Erick,
guys
the
a
Green
10-minute
Giver.
notice before 10. That way we can all together make our way out.